You know someone whose life keeps quietly opening while they seem to be trying about half as hard as you are? And you've never said the question out loud, because out loud it sounds like envy. It isn't envy, it's confusion. You've done the work. You showed up early, you stayed late, you read the books, you made the plan, and then remade the plan when the first one didn't take. And there's this other person, a cousin, a coworker, the woman 2 doors down who's always out watering something in the morning, who doesn't seem to be gripping anything at all. Things find them. Opportunities, friends, the right apartment, the job that came through a conversation they weren't even trying to have. And when you watch them long enough, the thing that gets under your skin isn't their luck. It's their hands. They're just looser than yours. So let's put the honest question on the table right now, at the beginning, and then let's take the rest of this hour to actually answer it. Why does it so often go better for the people who push less? The lazy answers are everywhere, and none of them hold up. It's not that they don't care, some of them care enormously. It's not that they never work, plenty of them work harder than you do in raw hours. And it's definitely not that the universe rewards a certain attitude, because that's just superstition dressed in nicer clothes, and this channel doesn't traffic in that. The real answer is much smaller, and much more useful, and once you can see it, you'll see it everywhere for the rest of your life. There's a difference between effort and force. Almost nobody was ever taught it. You've been paying for that gap for years in a currency you can't get back. If you're the kind of person who's awake at this hour because your mind won't stop running the numbers on your own life, subscribing is how these reflections keep finding you, and a like helps this reach the next person lying there doing the same math. Now let me show you the gap, and let's start with the piece of evidence sitting on your phone right now. The list. Your list. It's in the Notes app, or it's on a legal pad, or it's a whiteboard in the kitchen you bought during a hopeful week. And some of the items on it have been migrating for months. That one about the storage unit, that's been carried forward since February. The dentist. The thing with your mother's paperwork. The oil change you keep converting into a smaller, more shameful item called Call About Oil Change. You've optimized this list. You've reorganized it by priority, then by category, then by how long each one takes. And once, on a Sunday night with the coffee going cold beside you, you rebuilt the entire system from scratch, which took 90 minutes and produced nothing but a better-looking list. And here's what you already know deep down and have never let yourself say plainly. The list is not a tool. It's a device for measuring how far behind you are. Every single day it hands you the same verdict, and you keep going back to it hoping for a different one. You cross off 4 things, 3 appear. You cross off those. 2 more arrive with a friend. And at some point, maybe around 9 at night, standing in a kitchen with the dishwasher running, the last real light gone out of the sky, a very quiet, very tired thought crosses your mind that you push away fast because it scares you. What if it never empties? It doesn't empty. That's not a failure of your system. A living life generates tasks the way a living body generates heat. The list is not a container with a bottom. It's a river you were told was a bucket. And you've spent years trying to bail out a river, then blaming your arms. Sit with what that means for a second, because it changes what your exhaustion actually is. You're not tired from doing things. Doing things is fine. Human beings are built to do things. The body likes work. The mind likes problems. There's real pleasure in a hard day. What's wearing you down to the wood is something else, running underneath every single one of those tasks, all day, without a break. It's the grip. The grip is the extra. It's the part of your effort that isn't the work. It's the shoulders up near the ears while you type. It's the way you don't just have the conversation, you manage the conversation. It's the mental rehearsal at the red light, the imaginary argument in the shower, the checking and rechecking, and the little internal supervisor standing over your own shoulder, making sure you're doing it right. You could take every physical task on that list, do all of them, and go to bed genuinely satisfied. It's not the tasks. It's that you've been carrying each of them with a clenched hand, and a clenched hand cannot rest, even when it isn't holding anything. The truth is simpler than most of what you've been sold about your own tiredness. You don't need a better system. You need to find out where the grip came from, what it's costing you, and, this is the part nobody teaches, how a person actually gets more out of life by pushing less without turning into someone who's given up. That's the whole territory tonight. And the man we're borrowing eyes from spent his life staring at exactly this. Let me show you the grip in its purest form. It takes about 4 seconds, and it's happened to you. A screw, a cabinet hinge that came loose, or the license plate bracket, or the vent cover in the hallway. You put the driver in the head and you turn, and it doesn't move. So you do what any person does. You push harder. You lean into it with your whole shoulder. You put your body behind it, and then you feel it. That soft, sickening give. The bit spinning free with no bite. You pull back and look, and the head of the screw is a smooth little crater now, a shallow silver bowl with nothing left for anything to grab. That's not a story about a screw. That's a picture of what force does when it meets something that isn't ready to move. Force doesn't just fail. Force removes the surface that any solution could have gripped. You have done this to a conversation. You know the one. You spent 2 days preparing for it. You ran it in the shower, in the car, staring at the ceiling at midnight. You knew your opening line. You knew the 3 points you needed to land, and you had answers ready for the 2 objections you were sure you'd hear. You had it engineered. And then you sat down across from your wife, or your brother, or your 17-year-old, and 10 seconds in they said something that wasn't in the script at all. And instead of hearing it, you steered. You pulled the conversation back onto the road you'd built for it. You got your points out, all 3 of them, cleanly. And you walked away from that conversation having won it and lost the person. Nothing actually happened in that room. 2 people talked, and neither one was there. That's a stripped screw. You applied so much force to a thing that needed contact that you took away the surface where contact could have happened. Think of the small, everyday version, the glass door at the post office, the one with a handle that looks like a pull. You shove it. Nothing. You shove it harder, because the first shove obviously wasn't enough, and someone inside watches you do it twice before you notice the little word printed at eye level. We laugh at that. But notice what happened in your body in that half second. The door resisted, and your automatic, unthinking response was more. Not different, more. That reflex is the subject of a book that's roughly 2,500 years old, written in China, called the Tao Te Ching. Say it, Tao Te Ching. And it's attributed to a figure named Lao Tzu, which honestly translates to something like Old Master. Scholars aren't even certain he was a single person. The legend has him riding west out of a collapsing kingdom, stopped at a mountain pass by a gatekeeper who wouldn't let him leave until he wrote down what he knew. 81 short chapters, and then he's gone. I love that there's no biography to lean on. This is a book that never once asks you to be impressed by its author. And after tonight, you'll understand that that's not modesty. It's the entire argument, demonstrated. The idea at the center of it is called Wu Wei. Say it, Wu Wei. And it gets translated as non-doing, which is the single most misleading translation in the history of philosophy. It has caused 2,000 years of people thinking this is a philosophy for people who want to lie on the couch. Wu Wei doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting without forcing, doing the thing without the extra, action that has no strain in it because it's moving with the shape of what's actually there instead of against it. And the shape of what's actually there, that's the other word. Tao, said Tao, usually translated as the way, which sounds mystical and vague until you translate it the way a person who works with their hands would. The grain. Every piece of wood has a grain, and it doesn't care what you'd prefer. Run the plane one direction, and you get long, clean curls and a surface like glass. Run it the other, and the same tool in the same hands tears the fibers up and splits your board. Same wood, same effort. completely different outcome, decided entirely by whether you took 30 seconds to look first. That's the claim, in the plainest English I can find for it. Every situation has a grain. Every conversation, every problem, every relationship, every day. And force is simply what we reach for when we've stopped looking for it. That's it. That's the whole diagnosis. The people who seem to try less aren't trying less. They're spending a portion of their effort on looking before pushing, and the rest of their effort lands in the direction the material already wanted to go. They look lazy from the outside for the same reason a good carpenter looks lazy. There's no visible struggle, because the struggle was made unnecessary about 4 seconds before it would have started. Meanwhile, you've been sanding against the grain for 11 years and calling the exhaustion your work ethic. And I want to be careful here, because this could easily curdle into a lecture about efficiency, and that's not where we're going at all. This isn't about getting more done. Some of the most gripped people alive are extremely productive, and every one of them is miserable in a way they can't explain to anybody, because their life on paper looks like a success. What we're after is different. It's the question of what your days actually feel like from the inside while you're living them, whether you're in your life or standing slightly outside it with both hands on the wheel, steering something you never get to ride in. Here's the cost of the grip that nobody puts on the invoice. Force makes you blind. Not metaphorically. There's a real mechanism, and it's worth naming plainly because it takes this out of the realm of mysticism and puts it in your own body where you can actually feel it. When you're straining, when the stakes feel high and your whole system is braced, your attention narrows. That's not a flaw, it's design. Under pressure, the mind drops the peripheral and locks onto the target, because for most of human history, the pressure came from something with teeth. Narrow is exactly what you want when there's one thing to deal with, and it's coming at you. But almost nothing in your life is coming at you with teeth. Your life is mostly a wide field with a lot of quiet information in it. The tone in somebody's voice, the opportunity sitting off to the side, the fact that the thing you're forcing isn't even the thing you want. And when you grip, all of that goes dark. You can't see the grain while you're pushing. The pushing is what removed your ability to see it. You already have proof of this, and it's the most ordinary experience in the world. You're mowing the lawn on a Saturday in July, doing the long strips, the sound of the mower filling up your head so completely that you can't think in sentences. And somewhere around the third pass, with no warning, the answer arrives. Not the answer to something small, the answer to the thing you'd been chewing on all week at your desk with a legal pad, the one you'd given 4 hours of grinding, deliberate thought to and gotten nowhere on.